Hey everyone, Stephen Lowisz here with GTM Secrets. Everything go to market, sales, marketing, RevOps, data, you name it. We've had some interesting folks on here. If you notice, a lot of our guests are B2B. And while Jean-Paul Elbekian is B2B, it's got a little bit of a consumer flair here. So wanted to bring him on and talk about demand gen and some different topics. I don't want to butcher your background. So do you mind giving a little bit of context on yourself?
Yeah, good morning, Stephen, and thank you for having me on your show. Yeah, a little bit of the background. I was always in IT and technology companies focused on marketing, from product marketing to growth marketing to digital marketing, and then taking care of, building teams and bringing value to organizations in a nutshell.
So let's start here. The company that you're with is in consumer financing, right? There are a lot of consumer financing competitors. Now, we were just going over Green Sky's background a little bit, right? So you went public, then Goldman Sachs bought you, you've divested. Obviously, your company is doing something right. How do you attribute your growth in such a competitive space?
Very good question, Stephen. So if you look at the overall kind of U.S. Consumer lending market, it's a huge market. We're talking trillions there, probably 1.3 trillion last year, and then expected to double within the next 10 years. But if we drill down a little bit and look at the home improvement, that's roughly about 420 to 430 billions, with prediction again to grow to about a trillion with a T in the next 10 years. So if you look at that market with the players there, we feel we're positioned to kind of grow with the market simply because of a few factors that we contribute to our success. If you allow me to elaborate a little bit more. So what we do, we focus really on marketing, on technology and user experience. It's in the DNA of the organization. So when we were founded in 2006, it was based on the idea that like payment, credit, commerce could be enhanced using technology delivered in an elegant experience, right? And
sorry to cut you off, but I have to imagine that if you're selling to home services, and I have a lot of experience in the solar space, for example, they must have a very simple platform, not because they're intelligent, but they tend to not be very technical. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, you're 100% spot on. And this is really, you want to make it super easy. You want to make it with the least amount of button clicks. And you want to make and again, you alluded to that in the beginning of our episode when you talked about how do we approach that process of making it simple. And again, it's a stressful environment when the pro is sitting there at the kitchen table with a consumer. You want to make it as easy as possible because this is a big investment that the consumer is doing. So the easier you do it, the better it is, right? Frictionless, kind of a frictionless experience.
Is it? So give me examples of the type of home services. When I think big ticket requiring financing, I'm thinking roofing, I'm thinking solar. What else?
So if you look at the various specialties that we have, from windows and doors, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, it all depends on the level of home improvement that you're doing. But it could be a whole HVAC system that costs you $40K. So numbers can go big in the home financing. It all depends on what you're trying to do, right?
And is your product literally as simple as you plug in their information while you're sitting across from the kitchen table, or from them, at the kitchen table, and it spits out an interest rate and they get to sign right there? Is it that simple?
Exactly. All you need to do is to scan the ID. We make it even easier, so you don't put a lot of type data in. You scan the customer's ID, and at the same time, you enter a couple of data points, phone number, email, and then you get a kind of a decisioning on that application within 30 seconds.
So that's nuts, but awesome. I wish they did that for like SBA loans and startups and whatnot. That'd be a miracle. So if you guys get into that, let me know. That being said, so your main value prop is simplicity, it sounds like, kind of the Apple model, if you will. Am I getting that right?
True. That was like the kind of the first factor attributing to what we're doing. And you said, how are we successful? That was technology and user experience. And then the fact that, remember the numbers that I shared earlier, the fact that we specialize in home improvement, this really positions us, as a leader in a growing market. And we spoke about numbers. So remember, we're playing in that $420 billion that's predicted to kind of, within 10 years, triple, which is crazy.
That must have been a great TAM, total addressable market section when you guys were getting bought out and going public and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. This adds to the value proposition that we're adding. And I have a couple more factors to add if you allow me to do so. We partner very closely with our constituents. We call them merchants or dealers. So we leverage, a network of tens of thousands of these merchants, which is really crucial. And we don't just sell a solution and we move it. We sit with the actual partner and we train them, more of a consulting, a consulting role for sales, for marketing, all the regular quarterly reports that we do with them. So we're really embedded with their business, because if they don't succeed, we don't succeed. We want our merchant to really engage with us and then utilize the platform. And last but not least, on those factors that contribute to our success and growth is really we keep on innovating with those solutions, right? We don't stop there because we have an app that everyone can use. We keep on adding all these features. We make sure that mobile first experience is there, in addition to making it, sync with what the merchant has in the back end in terms of his portal, where he can log in and manage all these transactions that they're doing.
Do any of your competitors specifically specialize in home services?
We have some of the competitors that do, yes.
Okay. But what I'm hearing is also niches get riches. Is that the case?
Correct. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, we try to get as tactical as we can here. So I like picking this apart a little bit, because what I see a lot of startups doing, frankly, probably including myself, is going way too broad, thinking everyone needs your service. So here's my next question. Home professionals are not kicking around on LinkedIn. Tell me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
So how the heck do you market to them?
So it's a bit funny what you mentioned. So what we try to do, we try to meet them where they are. Remember, in any activity that you do, you wanna kind of look at that customer journey and see where they are, what kind of content they're consuming, what type of events they're at. We really focus on industry events and a lot of trade shows, simply because our constituents are out there, and this is like a physical meet. They like to meet and shake hands, and it's all about pros, right? And this is what they do. So we do a lot of those industry events. Two, we focus on another avenue, which is focusing on big integration partners, what we call, and they could be big manufacturers, or talking about manufacturers that you have out there in the windows and doors or the HVAC world. So once we tighten those partnerships, remember, those partnerships have a lot of networks, right? The pros networks underneath them. So once we do that, we get that greater visibility with the actual merchants that we're looking for. And this is kind of our ICP there. And then we focus on, in marketing specifically, what we're trying to do is we focus on the MarTech aspect, and at the same time at the content marketing aspect. When you want to do demand gen with that intersect of inbound or outbound, this is where we focus on. And then we do the direct outreach as well. Surprisingly, we still do that today.
Email or
we do
call or what?
We do emails, we do calls. So we have a chat on our website. So we do all kinds of outreach in order to understand. And this is, by the way, Stephen, shifting as well. with the generational change, what's happening in the market and all that. So we try to adapt and be as agile as we can so we can, move resources to where we need them most, right?
I am a total proponent of outbound. Half of LinkedIn whines and cries that outbound's dead. I call BS. That's pretty interesting. Now, what size company are you going after? Could it be a plumber with 3 people, or is it going to be much larger, more regional type of organizations, or both?
So our approach is two-pronged. We do the independent contractor. So JP's Windows and Doors. I'm an independent contractor, mom and pops, a few hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue or a few million, all the way to those big partnerships that I spoke about, which are in the hundreds of millions of dollars value. So
would that be, sorry to cut you off, would that be like a point of sale system where they're then integrating with you? That sort of partnership is kind of what you're talking about?
Could be point of sale or what we call them mostly CRMs, so service titans of the world and all that. Once you're included in the workflow of a pro when he's presenting an offer and all that, and he goes to the payment page, we're there integrated with that solution, right?
What's the, first of all, what's the actual ICP? So if it's a mom and pop shop, I assume it's the owner. In a little bit larger company, is it sales? Is it marketing, finance? Yes.
Mostly sales and finance. Remember, we're adding a growth factor within the organization, and research has proven that if you use financing solutions in your business, you grow your business, some growth up to 70%. So you can imagine the growth factors there. So we do both. Like I said, independent contractors, and we go after all these big partnerships that we.
So my experience is that outbound in more of a, and I say this affectionately, in a blue collar environment, you get a lot of very visceral responses, right? A lot of thoughts. How do you train your, or rather, what type of profile do you have for your BDRs, SDRs, whatever you guys call them over there? Like, what's the profile of that person? It's got to be a special type to have that thick of skin.
Yeah, so we have very very understanding team on that front, and what you usually do is it's really rare when you get those types of reactions, but we still get them, like you said. But at the same time, we try to mitigate in a way. Like I said, we take that consultative approach. We're part of them. We understand their pain points, and what we're trying to do is to solve for those pains that they have, right? Yeah. And then we keep it calm and collected, and it happens. And salespeople, know that this is part of their daily routine, right? You're gonna get some F-ops here and there.
And we all do, even in tech, right? I mean, my team gets them. I totally get it. Again, I have a lot of experience in solar. They don't take very kindly to outbound very often.
Mm-hmm.
So do with that as you will. Now, I want to go back to something that you mentioned, which is events. Are you talking about national events and expos where these home professionals go? Or are you talking about like hyper local or regional events that bring these folks in?
So a good question. We are part of the bigger, the thousands and hundreds of thousands of visitors, the KBIS, the IBS of the world. And at the same time, we go hyper local as well. Remember when I said we work with a lot of our integration partners, so they have their own events, addressing either regional offices or their TMs. So we're there and better. We do a lot of events.
That's got to be really hard because, correct me if I'm wrong, client or on a $40,000 project, maybe you're making a few grand off interest or whatever, and I'm making a ton of assumptions. I don't know your business model inside and out. But, I imagine that you're going for a volume play with contractors. How do you do that with more of the local events, where maybe you get a few contractors somewhat interested, then you got to convince them to integrate you into their platform or into their sales process, etc. How do you scale that? Is it just manpower? You have people all over that can go to events?
Not really. We leverage on that relationship that we have with the big partner first, because the big partner manages all these pros or contractors underneath them, right? So we focus on that big deal. We make it an easier integration, and it's part of their rollout that they roll it out. So we don't go individually to those contractors that are under those bigger partnerships.
Got it. Yep, it does. Do you do any advertising at all?
We do very little advertising. We dabbled a little bit into it, but we're focused more on organic. And again, talking about that market audience that we have, we try to make it as much as we can in terms of, focus on that demand gen and let's grow organically, which we've been doing since 2006. And that's shown very good results. Ultimately, you want to bring some leads in, right? Some MQLs. And if you do that organically with a little bit of push of, ad, it helps. But if we don't need it, we don't do it.
It sounds, and I want to call this out, you've mentioned partnerships and relationship building repeatedly, which I think is awesome. Most tech companies that I know, they're so focused on scalability from day one. And that to them means ads, demand gen, email the hell out of people, etc. Doesn't sound like you guys take that approach. And yet you went public, you got bought out by Goldman. Now you're back on your own, divested. I think it speaks volumes to the fact that relationship building can actually work in 2024 beyond. It's not just about scalability and getting a crap ton of leads in the door.
So it's definitely, I can, really, really, really understand what you're saying. And I feel it all depends on the DNA of the organizations. When you're building something and you want it to continue for the whole run, it's a different mindset that you want to, I want to start up, I want to run and get the maximum I can get and then exit within, a few years. This was never the strategy of GreenSky. We were there for the long run. We were there to support our constituents. And that's why we keep on doing it. We keep on doing it well.
Well, it's obviously working.
It is.
That's awesome. Here's one of my favorite questions I ask almost everybody. Before Identity Matrix, I was a RevOps guy. I love nerding out on MarTech, sales tech. Literally, you name it, I can probably talk about it. What does your MarTech stack look like? Whether it's CRM, email marketing, any intent, I doubt you're using intent platforms for these types of businesses. Tell me if I'm wrong, but what's behind the curtain?
So like any typical, mature organization, you need to rely on data and MarTech, not only as tools to help you like grow and penetrate the market, but at the same time, all these tools give you the analytics and the back end, right? Everything that we do, specifically in marketing, we want to try to test and see the successes. So we want to fail small and we want to fail short or fast. So that's why we have most of what other mature organizations have in terms of CRM, your typical Salesforce, marketing automation, Marketo, ABM platforms. Again, we're looking at
ABM.
We do. Remember the audience that we have. We have kind of two types of audience, the independent mom and pops, and we have the integration partnerships that we go after.
So is that like a 6 Sense demand base, one of those?
Yes, correct.
Got it. Now, it sounds like if you're building a relationship-driven business, you mentioned outbound already. I imagine that's a very large portion of your strategy. Tell me if I'm wrong, but out of the couple thousand person company that you're at or whatever it is, how big is your outbound team?
It's a bit tricky because outbound, if it starts like from marketing and it flows into the sales team, we're talking, a decent 30, 40 people.
That's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, I know you're on the marketing side, but do you know what sales engagement platform you're using for like outbound sequences, calls, that sort of a deal?
Yeah, we use Outreach for our kind of outbound, and then we're constantly adding more features, integrating more little solutions just to make it easier for that kind of outbound team to make it happen.
Very familiar with outreach. We use Salesforce. I'm a diehard Salesforce fan. The one that I don't like is Marketo. Just like Salesforce Marketing Cloud, I think it's antiquated. So kudos to you. It's a big, complex platform. You're obviously using it very well. That's just the one that I'll give you a little bit of crap for.
Remember, Stephen, it's what you make it is your marketing strategy, and the tool is just helping you implement that. So you can go and, you can do it manually. You can do it with a minimum requirements tool, or you can go for the big, solution. But at the same time, it all deals down to what you have in terms of strategy there, and to make it happen.
I would agree that, if you go on LinkedIn, and I harp on this all the time, everything's dead. Outbound's dead, email's dead, cold calling's dead, ads are dead, whatever. It's all about how you do it. Just because it didn't work for you when you tried it doesn't mean jack. Probably means that you did it wrong. So I hear you. Last question for you in the podcast. Ad costs are rising, and I know you're not doing a ton of ads. Organic is changing with LLMs, chat GPTs of the world, and Gemini now, etc. No one knows how SEO works for things like Gemini and whatnot. Literally nobody that I've ever encountered. How do you see, or what do you expect to change in the next 12 to 24 months, specifically in your business, as everything's changing in marketing right now?
So it's been, and again, I'm not going to call it hype, because now AI is reality, especially with all the Gen AI and the LLMs you're talking about. But again, going back to basics, once you have that SEO strategy and you run it organically, I know with Google and the cookieless environment, a lot of people are focusing on, okay, let's use that new tool, the new hype, the LLMs, the new AI tools that we're getting, just to kind of see where would it help us most. So one big area is content creation, right? So you use that, and you can really hyperscale your content, which is really good. And there's that, again, with the cookieless environment and all that. So a lot of organizations are focusing on their first party data, and all the, VPs of marketing and CMO events I attend, it's always now first party data. They don't want to rely on anything else, because guess what? When you have the thousands of partners, you have the millions of customers, you have the data. You're sitting on a gold mine that you're not touching, right? And this would help, I think, ultimately into really scaling, because it's not enough to create that volume of content or help you with efficiencies in marketing. You want to really still be personal. After all, we're still human. We leverage that, if you want, this new wave of AI and LLMs to personalize at scale, because that would help you personalize it. Imagine an organization that has, 20, 30, 40 specialties. We don't work, if you address as a roofing contractor, it's not like addressing an HVAC or plumbing or an electrical contractor, right? So you need to personalize at scale, and at the same time, diversify your marketing channels. We keep on hearing omni-channel. Very little
Been around for years.
Do it right. Yeah, but very little companies do it right. So when advertising becomes so expensive, and you see now there's influencer marketing and there's all other tools that you can use, this is really quite important. And again, part of my back to basics is focusing on the customer retention, right? So again, how do you want to do that? And AI and LLMs and all these tools, because now you're being closer to them, simply because of that effect of efficiencies that you're adding to the layer of your marketing department or sales department.
I'm a big proponent of first party data, which is why my company does nothing but provide first party data. So I fully agree with you. Little biased, but I agree with you. This is awesome. Jean-Paul, I really appreciate you coming on. I love getting tactical, so thank you for humoring me. I have a feeling you're going to say LinkedIn, just like everybody else, but where should people connect with you?
they connect with us in various environments and channels. So I would say our events and marketing, and if you're talking digital, of course, we do a lot of LinkedIn with the kind of big integration partnerships that we have. But at the same time, you still find people on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. So we connect and we follow where our constituents are.
If GTM Secrets listeners want to connect with you, my friend, where should they connect with you?
LinkedIn is the best option, yes.
Everyone says it. I have one guy say Instagram, but everyone else says LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn.
Jean-Paul, really appreciate you coming on, man. Definitely go to everybody listening or watching, go connect with Jean-Paul. But again, thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me, Stephen. And remember, be human, because the person on the other line is right.
Yes. The last note that I'll make is everyone thinks that selling to a business is a real thing. A business is a file folder at the IRS. You're still selling into a person. So I can't agree more with that sentiment. Awesome. Appreciate it so much.
Great seeing you, Stephen. Take care.